Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Lovely Freaks podcast. I'm your host, Amanda.
And I'm Hannah.
And if you're new here, hi, welcome. If you want to, you can hit the subscribe button, or you can follow us on Instagram at Lovely Freaks, and you can follow us on Facebook, Lovely Freaks Podcast. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's the intro.
I just wait patiently.
I know.
Okay.
We've had some difficulties, but this is the third time we've tried to record this. First time the cat got involved, and that was a whole mess. So anyways, just wanted to say thank you for everybody who's asked if I'm doing okay. Yes, I'm doing better. I had a kidney infection, and my back still hurts, and it's still sore. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. I still have to get some tests ran and things like that from the doctor, but other than that, yeah, all good. And no, I did not have COVID. I had someone ask me that, and no, I didn't. I actually got tested. So, which, by the way, that test sucks. Just want to throw that out there.
Is that your first time taking it?
Yeah. Have you ever had it?
No.
Yeah,
They stick it up your nose and stuff?
Yeah, like, they pulled brain matter out, I'm pretty sure.
I can't. I would scream the entire time. Be like,
It was bad, and it made me want to sneeze so bad, but I didn't, which is shocking. But anyways, so today, if you saw the title, then you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch. So this is pretty crazy, but I fell down a rabbit hole, and it was very interesting. I'll put it that way. Really interesting.
Yeah. I've never heard this, so.
Yeah, I told you to Google it, but you didn't, which is good. So before we get started, I just want to say a few things. So a lot of people have asked me, because this has to deal with aliens and some other stuff, but it does have to do with aliens. And a lot of people have asked how, because we've talked about the fact that we're Christians on this podcast, and we've talked about, the fact that we believe in God and all that. So people don't understand how we can be Christians and like believe in all this stuff and talk about all this stuff or whatever. So first of all, I just want to say I don't have anything against anybody who's not Christian. I'm not one of those, that tries to beat you over the head with my religion, simply because I used to be atheist for a very long time. I didn't become a Christian until I was in my late 20s. So I I didn't like that when I was, didn't believe in God. I didn't like somebody browbeating me, because I was like, that's not going to do anything but make me mad. So anyways.
Yeah, it does.
So, I don't know. I don't think that in this vast universe with all these trillions of different planets and all these galaxies and everything like that, like we live in one galaxy, and that's the Milky Way, but there's many others out there, and I don't believe that we're the only things that God put out there.
Yeah.
Created. Yeah. Put out there.
Put out there. Created.
It's a new merchandise. So anyways, I just wanted to say that right up front, because a lot of people have asked me, some friends and family and things like that. But yes, if you want to come, we're not one of those people, like, if you come to us with a question about God, we're not gonna, not talk to you about it, but we're also not gonna, I have friends that are atheists, like best friends that I've known for like 20 plus years. And if they come to me and ask me a question, and one of them did ask me, they were like, I don't understand how you can believe in aliens and God. And I'm just like, well, it's not like, I didn't say that they were little green men. Like, what? Yeah. I don't know what they are. I've never seen them, but I have seen a UFO, so you can.
And they could be little green men.
They could be.
He could have made like some clay and put some green dough.
Yeah.
Green, what's it called? Dye. And just be like, I think these are cool. And then he was like, never mind, they look creepy.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it my image this time.
Let me make them tall. Nope, that's worse.
So I'm just going to leave them alone.
Yeah. Everything I come up with in my mind, Gabriel, just looks really bad and scary and terrifying. So let's just focus on me.
Yeah, let's just make someone in my image. Gabriel's like, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so Skinwalker Ranch. It's a crazy freaking place, and we're going to talk about it. So it's one of the most active paranormal spots in Utah, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's 480 acres, and it's located near Ballard and Fort Duquesne. I think I said that right. Utah. It also borders a Ute reservation, which we're going to talk about the Ute Indians, and we're also going to talk about the Navajo Indians as well.
Okay.
And it's about 3 hours east of Salt Lake City. So the Ute Indians have lived on this reservation for about 150 years, and it covers... they lived on the reservation outside of Skinwalker Ranch. Let me get that straight. So, but they've lived in the area, I'll say that, for 150 years. And their reservation covers 4.5 million acres. That's a lot of acres.
Yeah.
A long time, for a long time, most of the Indians they would say that they wouldn't go on the ranch. Like they wouldn't, in the spot where all this paranormal stuff happens and all this other stuff, they wouldn't do it. So there's a legend that, the legend of the Skinwalkers. So a Skinwalker, according to the legend, is an evil shape-shifting witch of the Navajo people. And the Utes are like really, really scared of it. And we'll kind of get into like what it kind of
so it
looks
is
like,
a witch,
I guess you could say.
or they just think it's a witch. It's actually an alien.
Well, we'll get into that. Okay. So the Utes and the Indians, they used to fight together against the white man, of course, and the Spanish would come in and they would take the lands and stuff like that. And so at one point, though, the Ute Indians decided that they needed to be civil with the white man so that way they could better their tribes, because they were dying out and they were just they weren't making it and they were losing food and all this other stuff. So they decided that they would get horses from the Spanish, and then they would abduct the Navajo people for them, and then they would sell them in the New Mexico slave trade. They also helped take things from the Navajo during the Civil War. So they would take their houses or anything like that, and they would just take the people and sell them to slave trade in New Mexico. So they just basically turned on the Navajo, and they were all fighting together, but, it happens a lot. After all the fighting and the land being taken, the Navajo were exiled from their land and forced to travel to a reservation in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, which was famously named the Long Walk of the Navajo. And I know about that. So that's a whole nother thing that we're not going to talk about here. So,
okay.
Because of all of this, the Utes believed that they put a curse on them, that the Navajo put a curse on them. Mm-hmm. And the Skinwalker started to walk among the Ute people. So now we're going to talk about what a Skinwalker kind of is, or what they think it is. So the Skinwalker kills and eats people and animals. The legend has it that the Skinwalker name is given to them because they can turn into whatever animal they want to at the time. So if they want to be a wolf, or if they need to be a wolf, they can turn into a wolf. If they need to be a bird to fly away, they can turn into a bird. So they're like shapeshifters. And they cause a lot of mischief and mayhem and just all around bad things, or whatever you want to call them, creatures. So they also believe that they are kind of like medicine men or medicine women who have essentially made a deal with the devil to be bad, I guess you could say, which kind of reminded me of Voodoo. Yeah. What's her name? Marie Laveau that we talked about. So yeah, they have very supernatural kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Supernatural powers, yeah. And so the Ute people believe that they live in the caves that are in this place called Dark Canyon. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk about the ranch and kind of a little bit about it. And then we're going to get into a family that lived there since like 1994, I believe it was, and that part's crazy. So the earliest reports from the ranch are in the 1700s. Excuse me. The 1700s, Spanish explorers were looking for a Spanish trail, and they were at the Ute Tibet.
Girl.
Sorry, guys. I was needing some water. So, okay. Backtrack. So, the Spanish were traveling through the Uinta Basin, and they reported seeing crafts in the sky while at their fire camps. So, this was all the way back in the 1700s. And they recorded this down in, like, books and shit. Like, that they were just chilling, and they were, like, at the fire, having their camp, and they saw above them, like, these crafts of some sort that were in the sky. Well, obviously, in the 1700s, they didn't have, planes or nothing like that, so...
And also, they wouldn't know what that is.
Yeah, they had no idea. So, we have no idea what, really, they saw. Mm-hmm. Then, nothing really came out of... Like, nothing else came from that, but throughout history and before this time that I'm about to talk about, there was a lot of different reports here and there of different things, but obviously, probably back then, I would say the 1700s, 1800s, nobody probably wanted to say anything because they were probably like, yeah, people are going to think I'm, like, crazy,
Or a witch. You're a witch, you saw something.
Yeah, a witch. Especially if you're a woman. Okay, so in 1905, the Myers family made it their homestead. There was like a few small homes on the property, and then they started building buildings, and they made like a little small town, I guess you could. What are you doing?
Scooter wanted up here.
Oh, the dog. Okay.
He kept whining, and I was like, okay, come here. Go ahead.
So the Myers family, they made like, different houses and stuff. And there was this documentary that I watched. It was like 2 hours long. But it had... So they still have like the little houses there throughout the property. Throughout the ranch. They have, these houses here and there and everywhere. So the ranch was then occupied still by the Myers family all the way up until 1987. Kenneth John Myers and Edith Myers were the ones who lived there. And so from 1905 to 1987, basically the Myers family owned the entire property. They never reported anything weird or anything out of the...
Anything that's happened?
Yeah, anything that's happened. They never said anything. Which, that's really weird because in the 1950s, there were hundreds, we're talking like 300 or maybe more reports in the 1950s of UFO sightings.
Damn.
Around in this area. Not necessarily like on the 400, whatever I said, 450 something acres of 480, acres of land, but just in the general area. And Utah's really known for a lot of, alien activity, sightings of UFOs and things like that. So it's not crazy to think of, but I just think it's weird how they never said they saw anything. Yeah. So even in 1970, there was a highway patrol that got reports of UFOs, and they were getting so many reports in the 1970s, I don't know what year, but around the 1970s, that they just stopped reporting it. Because it was like so much they couldn't keep up with it, so they were just like, screw it, I mean, like, and then we can't do this all night, every night.
And then people are like, oh, aliens aren't real, and all those people just decide, hey, we should all just lie.
Yeah. They were also getting reports of cattle mutilations. I was about to say mutilations.
Mutilations?
I don't know. Cattle mutilations, as well as the blood from the cattle. So, like, if you were to butcher a cattle, or if not you, let me backtrack. If a person, if a person or a animal was to butcher a cattle, then obviously there would be blood everywhere. It'd look really rough. Well, these cattle were mutilated in a way that there wasn't blood anywhere. There wasn't blood around the body. There wasn't blood in the
body. Was it like laser burns? Like maybe
the
laser?
Cuts on all these cattle, and this is throughout this whole entire thing we're going to talk about. All the cuts were like very precise, like precision cuts. Okay. So it's really, really weird. So it's hard to believe. So I don't understand why the Myers never said anything. And also, we're supposed to talk about the family that moved in after them and the weird stuff that they had in their house. So that part also...
Maybe they're aliens themselves.
Is really weird to me. I don't know.
Just a theory, not really.
No. So now we're going to talk about the Shermans. This is a lot, but it's really interesting. So... In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased their ranch dream home, and they had a daughter and a son, and they have like some crazy stories. So, sorry, I need water. So Terry was a livestock breeder. He obviously had, I don't know if he bred cattle, like, I think he bred them for show, because he had like prize bulls and things like that, and so that's why they bought the land. So he had Angus cows, which Angus cows are like super expensive show cattle. They're like top notch that you can have, and they got the ranch for like super cheap, which, you know, red flag right there. But especially if it's that much property and you're getting it for super cheap, I'd be like, nah, what's really going on?
Like, what's
and also
murder
that was
here? Like,
yeah, that was another thing that I didn't quite understand. Like, if the Myers family didn't have any problems with it, first of all, why would they leave? And second of all, why would they sell it for so cheap? I guess because no one in the area.
It kind of seems like they're aliens or something, or like maybe they were tired of the rumors.
Maybe, I don't know. Of course, no one in the area was going to buy it, but they still could have found a sucker from out of town, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, they found these guys. But anyways, so the one condition that the realtor told them when they bought the house, because, you know, there's always a condition, was that they could not dig on the property unless they contacted the old owners.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know. Super weird, but they couldn't dig on the property. What? Like, not even, like, dig a hole for a dead goldfish. Like, they couldn't dig unless they contacted the old...
Why?
We'll get there. So...
It sounds like bodies. They'd be like, why? Is there bodies underneath this property?
Yeah. After they had finalized the house, and after the sale was final, they got to the home, and they found something a little weird. There were deadbolts on every single door in the house, inside and outside. So, like, front door, there was a deadbolt on the outside, and then if you walk in, there's a deadbolt on the inside.
Yeah.
Don't know why, because that doesn't make any sense. But 2 deadbolts on everything. All the windows were bolted shut. And at the sides of the house, there were huge metal chains hanging off from them. And it almost looked like they had, like, a lot of guard dogs at the side of the house. So they just thought, okay, the previous owners must have been, like, paranoid of burglars or, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first couple of weeks in the house at this ranch, it was all good. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Then one afternoon, after unloading things out of the truck, Terry sees a very large animal in the distance. And Gwen says she thinks it was a wolf. However, it's about 3 times as big as a wolf. So they're standing there and they're getting the groceries out or whatever they have to get out. And off in the distance, they see this animal. And the animal starts walking towards them. And at first, they're like, okay, they think this is just like maybe a big freaking dog, like a mixed dog, like Great Dane mixed with a wolf or something
maybe a
like
wolf.
that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But it's just so huge, they don't understand. So when it's walking towards them, it begins to walk in like a weaving pattern, which is really weird. And the cattle that are in the corral next to the house kind of, they start like backing up. But the animal doesn't go for the cattle because Terry thinks, you know, he's thinking, okay, this animal is supposed to attack my cattle.
Yeah.
I gotta run in and get the gun, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't. He walks right up to them. Well, I say he. This animal. Walks right up to, I don't know his gender. Walks right up to him. And he, Terry starts to, like, pet him, and they both say that he's, pet him. Like, just pet this freaking, like, dog-looking wolf thing.
Yeah.
It has gray hair, light blue eyes, and it's not aggressive at all. So, they're petting him, and then suddenly, without any explanation, the thing, or creature, takes off towards one of the cattle, and then it grabs one of the calves by the head, and is, like, pinned its, you know, mouth over his head. I don't think it killed the cattle. I didn't get that, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. And so Terry, like, freaks out, and he runs to his truck, and then he grabs a shotgun, and he shoots this thing 4 times with a shotgun, and it doesn't stop. And by the 4th time, it just lets go, and it runs back off into the woods.
Wow.
Okay. So there's that. So Terry, after this, he's like, okay, I gotta track this thing because I want to make sure it's dead. It's gonna come back for my cattle. I can't have it killing all my cattle and my calves, so I've just got to go track it. So he goes off into the woods and he starts tracking it. He tracks it for a mile, and he's finding footprints all over the place. He's finding footprints in the mud, and so he's, you know, on its trail. And then all of a sudden, he gets into, like, this clearing area, and the footprints just vanish. He was like, it's like, he said it was literally like it just flew away. Which takes me back to the Skinwalker thing.
Yeah.
You know, I told you they could shapeshift into, like, a wolf if they wanted to, but if they needed to shapeshift into an owl and fly away, they could do it. So, that's really weird. Like, that would definitely explain, like, how it just vanished. Because a lot of times in this, and we'll get to it, but a lot of times when he's looking at footprints of something, it all of a sudden, it just vanishes. Like, there's no footprints. So, a few weeks later, Gwen comes home. They don't see anything for a while, and then a few weeks later, Gwen comes home from wherever she had been. She had been running errands, and she's at the gate entrance, and she's, you know, she came through the gate, and then she's trying to shut the gate behind her. When all of a sudden, this creature, she sees something, like, out of the corner of her eye, and she turns, and she realizes that she thinks it's the creature, you know, coming back. So she gets in her car, and then the next thing she realizes is that this creature walks up to her car and is, like, staring at her through the windshield. But this time, the creature's not alone. There's also a large-looking dog next to the gray wolf.
Creature, okay.
Or we'll call it a wolf, but that's what she describes it as. She says it's a wolf, but it's huge. So there's also this black dog. But she said the thing about this black dog that was weird is that it has, like, a big head, like, too big for its body. Like, it's got a small, like, skinny body, but a, like, huge head. And so they're just staring at her through the windshield. This time, she, like, freaks out, and she drives as fast as she can up to the house. And they don't follow her, luckily, but it scares her so bad that she calls the police. So she goes to the police station, and she's telling them, look, there's a wolf, you know, out at our property. You need to get somebody over there because he keeps coming back. He's going to kill our cattle, blah, blah, blah. Well, the police are like, there's no way that there's a wolf at your property because we don't have wolves in this area. We haven't had wolves in this area for a long time.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, that's not true, you know. And so, which there's still some debate. I mean, I think they do have wolves in the Utah area.
But they wouldn't be that big, and they wouldn't look that weird.
Yeah. So they get her to do, like, a lineup. So they put, like, all these different breeds of animals, dogs, and all this stuff in front of her. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, pick out what you saw. And she's flipping through there. And she finally picks one. She says, this one. And they're like, what? You know, that's impossible. Because what she picks out is a direwolf. Do you know what a direwolf is?
No.
Okay, so a direwolf is it's essentially a huge wolf. I mean, we're talking like, I was going to say Game of Thrones, but you didn't watch that. So, Twilight. You know how big they are in Twilight? Yeah. There we go.
So almost as
I had
big
to
as
appeal
Bella.
to a 21-year-old miss. So yeah, it's they're like essentially that big.
Damn.
But they died out hundreds of like years ago. So I mean, like, well, not hundreds of years, thousands of years ago. So tens of thousands of years ago. Let me get that straight. So they can't. They're like, there's no way that's what you saw. Sorry. And I'm sitting there thinking, why'd you even put it in the picture then? But whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, they just tell her.
So that makes me think that if it is the Skinwalker, they're like really old creatures.
I mean, that means it could be anything they wanted to be too.
Yeah.
They could shape shift into anything. Yeah. I don't know the technicality of it. Like, I don't know if they can only shape shift into creatures that, you know, are here today. I mean, if that was the case, I guess so, because they could shapeshift into what, a dinosaur?
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. No, I don't know. So, after this, though, I think they kind of just like lose hope in the police helping them at all, because I think they're going to think, okay, we're just crazy. And maybe that's what happened to the Myers family. Maybe they started telling the police, and the police were like, yeah, you guys are like insane or whatever. So objects began disappearing from the home, from the yard. Terry was out one day and he was digging, and which he was told not to, but he did it anyways. So he was out one day and he was digging with a post hole digger. And do you remember, you know what a post hole digger is? And so he stuck it in the ground and he went to go to his truck to like get a drink or something like that. So he was literally only gone for like a second. And then he comes right back and the post hole digger's gone. And he's like, okay, where is this post? I know I left it here. So he gets annoyed and he's like, ugh, I don't know what happened. And he thinks he's losing his mind. Well, then he starts looking for it everywhere and he can't find it, but he finds it eventually 5 or 10 minutes later. And where he finds it is he finds it up in a tree. Yeah, up in a tree, hanging from a tree. And he's like, well, I know I didn't go up in that tree and put it up in there. So, yeah, it was really weird. So things like that happened all over the property. And anytime that they would, this gets back to the digging thing, anytime that they would dig on the property, like I said, there would be like almost like a vibration under the ground. And they didn't understand why. And it wasn't like you know how like if you hit something and your shovel vibrates or something like that. No, that's not what it was. It was literally like under their feet, like a vibrating under their feet.
Maybe there's like a huge ship under there.
Could be. I don't put anything past this. We're going to talk about some of the theories at the end, and one of the theories, like I'm almost positive it's for sure. So one night when Terry and Gwen were out for a walk, they hear a weird metal clanking sound against metal. So it's like, I guess essentially it would sound like if there was a sword fight going on, I guess.
Yeah, or like you have a metal pole and you're banging it against like a metal door or something.
And it sounds like it's coming from the sky. They don't see anything above their heads, but then they see this bright light off in front of them in the distance. And it almost looks like headlights from a car, kind of. Mm-hmm. So Terry and Gwen start walking towards the object, and every time they walk towards the object, it lifts up about 15 feet off the ground, and then it moves backwards and touches back down. So they keep doing this. They keep walking towards it, and it does this over and over again. Lifts up, backs up, and then touches back down. And it's not a huge object, and they can't see past the bright light, so they don't know necessarily what it is. Mm-hmm. But they still hear the metal on metal clicking back and forth, and they can't figure out what that is either. So then all of a sudden, after they've done this for a few minutes, the object just lifts up and then just leaves. Yeah, really weird. And they don't like it doesn't necessarily go up into up into space. It just like disappears into the trees or whatever. By winter, Terry is obsessed with trying to figure out what is going on the property. He walks the property one night in the cold, which these people are brave. Because after I saw that, I would have been like, nope, that's it.
Yeah, I would have left.
Yeah. But it's so cold this night that he just decides he's going to leave and go in. And he's just like, I can't, be out here anymore. So as he's going through his door, he sees something out of the corner of his eye. He looks up and it's a UFO. He said that it was the size of a stealth bomber and it was just over the ridge of the mountain. Like you could see it just over the ridge of the mountain. He said it had multicolored lights and it was like projecting them into the snow, almost like it was looking for something. He said suddenly the lights turned off and it takes off over the ridge, and he didn't see it again. He didn't know if it just vanished or if it just went over the ridge.
Yeah. And
there's not a military base anywhere nearby there, so then he starts kind of believing what he's heard in the town about there being UFOs and things like that. And he's like, oh, okay. So that's what people are seeing.
Yeah.
I got it.
And also, that's another thing. There's been multiple people that said that there's colored lights. Different colored lights. Looks the same.
And after this, like after that episode, Gwen starts seeing it over and over again. And so does Terry. I mean, he sees it multiple times over the next, time that they've been there. This one's crazy though. They also, after this, and after seeing this UFO for a while, they also begin seeing glowing orange orbs in the sky. A lot of them are at night. So they're about a mile away from the house, usually. And Terry was out one night sitting on the porch, and he decides that he's going to look at one of these through his scope. And when he looks through his scope at the orb, he doesn't... So this is literally orb. It's like round, and it's not a spacecraft at all. So when he looks through the scope and he looks directly at the orb, he sees blue skies on the other side of the orb.
Okay.
Like, almost like a portal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So, that's freaky.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't understand, like, why he sees blue skies on the other side of this orb.
Yeah.
None of the things so far have harmed them or the cattle. And that is until one day everything changes. After a big snowstorm, Terry goes off to check on his cattle, and one of his cows is missing. He finds the cow's tracks in the snow. So these are tracks in the snow. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it was running. So the tracks kind of like speed up in repetitiveness, so it almost looks like it was running from something.
Yeah.
And he gets to this clearing again, and the tracks just stop once again. So he doesn't understand where the cow went. There's no tracks, and these, like I said, these tracks are in the snow. So if you track something in the snow, I mean, it's pretty obvious to tell where it is and where it's going.
Yeah.
So, but he just can't find them. So he loses one of his cows, and then by the time spring rolls around, he has lost 4 more cows. So he's pretty upset because these cows are not cheap, and he needs the cows for the money. And then one day in April, the Sherman's son, he sees a cow like stuck in the mud. And so I guess he had to go run some errands or something. So he was going to come back and get the cow, but he was gone. He saw the cow, and the cow was stuck there, but he wasn't like in pain or agony or anything like that. So he's like, well, I've got to go, I don't know, run and go do something for his dad real quick. Maybe fix a fence so the other cows wouldn't get out or something. So then he comes back, and the cow was motionless in the mud. And then he sees, so he's like, oh crap, this cow's in distress now. He thought he still thought it wasn't dead. But then the Sherman's son sees that the whole rear end of the cow had been carved out. Something made a clean cut, and the insides of the cow were gone. Not like missing, like hanging out. They were just completely gone. There was no blood. There was no blood in the mud, and there was no blood inside the cow either.
That's weird.
Just drained it all.
And also, he probably wasn't gone long.
No, he was only gone for like 30 minutes. So
Nobody can do that in 30 minutes.
Yeah. It wasn't like
no person could do that.
And
no person could do that now, period.
No. And he saw, and it would have been like an animal, because he would have heard like the cow surely mooing, or the animal that was doing it would have been making some sort of noise, because I don't think he was very far from the cow, if I remember correctly. And he knows that the cow was alive when he passed by there, because he saw the cow kind of like trying to struggle to get out of the mud.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I mean, he says it wasn't in distress, but I mean, I would have personally got the cow out at that moment. Poor cow.
Instead of waited.
Yeah. 3 months later, though, after this, another cow is found in the exact same way. And then the next year, there would be 2 more cows found the same way as well. So that is 4 cows? Yeah. 4 cows that were found this way. And I've seen some of the, like, documentary footage, because later on there's, like, teams that go there and do, like, investigations and stuff, and there's still cattle mutilations in the area. And, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, if you see some of the footage, you're like, how in the actual... Some of them are missing, like, eyes and tongue, and then there's nothing but, like, a rib cage and skin. And that's it. And you're just like, okay.
No human could do that fast, even if they could. I mean, they probably could, but they couldn't do it fast like that.
No, not that quick. So they finally decide to start watching the cattle at night. Terry is, like, really upset, and he wants to, like, stay up all night watching the cattle. After watching every night, just about, Terry and Gwen were outside when suddenly an orb appeared. This one was different, though, however. This one was blue. So this blue orb was just above the tree line, and it was very small. It shifted around the skies near them, and then appeared not far above their heads. They said it looked to be almost like a marble, like blue liquid inside of it. This happened a few nights over and over, and one night, this part's sad and crazy. So one night, this orb comes out again, and the dogs start barking. They start freaking out. And I think it's... Let me look and see, because I can't remember. 3 dogs. Yeah. So it's 3 dogs. And they start barking, freaking out. And somehow they get out of the house. I don't know if somebody, like, goes in the house and they bolt out the door.
Yeah.
So they start running after this orb. And Terry just kind of lets him go, but he's going to, like, go after him. Mm-hmm. So he gets a shotgun and he starts going after him, but this almost sounds like a movie. So they are going through the woods, and all of a sudden he hears, like, a yelp. Uh-huh. And so he's like, oh crap. And then it's, like, dead silent. So he is terrified, because he already knows what's been going on with his cattle and everything else that he's seen. So he just, honestly, I mean, I would have done the same thing. He's like, I can't go out there. I can't die and leave my family. So I'm just going to have to wait until morning, which, smart, because they're just dogs. Yeah. I love my dogs, but
not my life.
Not today. So he hears that, and so he said, I'm just going to wait until the morning. So the next morning, with the daylight, he goes out to search for the dogs. And 10 yards into this thick brush, all of a sudden there opens up into another clearing. Always these clearings. So it opens up into this clearing. And on the other side of the clearing, Terry sees something that freaks him out, like, so completely. There are 3 large brown circles in the grass. And in each of these circles, there's piles of what looks like masses of hair and skin. He gets a little closer, and he realizes that the 3 dogs have been incinerated.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like, there's 3 piles.
Incinerated,
like, burnt. Yeah. Completely. There wasn't a fire the night before. He didn't see anybody burn anything out in the woods. And it's weird that he saw that orb, and then they followed it into the woods, and then all of a sudden he heard a yelp, and then that was that.
And also, if he burned, it would burn the hair. first. Sorry. It would burn the hair first, and then it would burn the skin of the dog. It wouldn't be like you burn the dog. So it couldn't be that. It had to be that. Incineration.
Like a laser is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, laser.
It's crazy. So that's Terry is really upset at this point. He's pissed off too because he's lost his dogs, he's lost a bunch of his cows, and it's just too much. So, Terry and Gwen reach out to Joseph Hicks, who is a retired science teacher who has been investigating. I guess they heard in the neighborhood that he had been investigating the unusual things that happens in this area, and he had been doing this for decades. Mm-hmm. Aside from the hundreds, like I said earlier, of UFO reports and sightings, he has also had many cattle mutilations, like we've said before, and also orb sightings. So, but no one in the area knew exactly what the clear explanation was. Nobody knew how to make it stop, I guess you could say. And after talking with Mr. Hicks, the Shermans knew that they would never really find the answers that they were looking for. So they kind of just, I guess he didn't really have any more information than they already knew. Yeah. So, and I guess he didn't want to come out and really investigate because he didn't. So, it was
maybe he was too scared to.
Maybe. It was at this time that they decided to kind of sell the ranch. But before they decided to do that, in June of 1996, there was a billionaire named Bob Bigelow. That name is so funny to me.
My name's Bob
Bigelow. He actually was contracted out by the government, like the Pentagon, to go there and investigate this. So this is not something that's just,
small stories.
Small stuff, yeah.
It's big stories.
So he saw an article in some newspaper about it, and he is been obsessed with the paranormal and UFOs for a long time. So he wanted to put together a research team to investigate the Shermans and try to help them figure this out so that way they don't have to sell and they don't have to move. And over a year-long investigation, they see absolutely everything that the Shermans have described. In April of 1996, one of the strangest events happened. That afternoon, Terry finds his 4 prize bulls pinned up in their pen. Mm-hmm. So their corral. And they're just grazing or whatnot. So he goes and does some chores. It takes him about 30 minutes. And then he comes back. And when he comes back, his bulls are gone. And these are prize bulls. I mean, he needs these in order to breed his cattle. Yeah. So he's probably obviously thinking, shit, what had happened to him? Because I'd been the same way. I'd be like, oh my God, can you guys give me a break up there? Yeah. I'd be so bad.
If you want some steak, I'll cook you some steak, man.
Yeah. So, he looks around to see if there's any sign of escape or if the fence is down, if someone has unlocked the gate, undone the bolt and stole the bowls or something like that. Yeah. So there's nothing. So he sees that there is a small, he remembers there's a small trailer at the end of the corral, but he's thinking to himself, there's no way that they're in that trailer because, number one, there's 4 bulls and only 2 really can fit in there comfortably. And also, that trailer has been locked. I locked it. So he's like, screw it. At this point, I'll look anywhere. So he went over to this trailer, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what kind of trailer I'm talking about? That cows are in to transport trailer. Yeah. Okay. So he goes to the trailer and he jumps up and looks in the window and he sees the 4 bulls. All 4 bulls are crammed in this trailer. They're standing eerily still and they're looking straight up into the sky. Yeah. What the actual? Yeah. I would be like,
I would have just left. I would
Yeah.
be like, no, I'm done with this
well,
shit.
they wanted to leave, but then, the government got involved and they were like, okay, I guess we'll stick around and see if they can help us. So yeah, and they're just standing there and he doesn't understand how they got in there. So Terry calls Bob and his investigation team and he's like, y'all gotta come down here and come out here. So they come out and they can't come up with an explanation of how these cows got in there. They use their metal detectors and they realize that the bars on the trailer and the bars right beside, like, where the trailer is, they're highly magnetized. Like, magnetized. Like, very, very magnetized. And even 48 hours later, the magnetization was completely gone. Like, so they went back out there and they checked it again and the magnetization was gone. The scientists are fascinated by this because they start staying out at night and doing long investigations. So they don't understand. Like, they think that one of the things they said was maybe the magnetization was so strong that it was some sort of force that was pulling the bulls into the trailer.
But why would it pull the bulls?
Also, how did it get unlocked? Like, I don't understand that part. Like, how did it get unlocked? Because Terry said he knows he locked it. I mean...
And how would there be magnetation or whatever?
Magnetization?
Yeah, whatever. That word.
Magnetization.
Magnetization with, the trailer. Like, why would it be there all of a sudden and then gone?
Well, we'll talk about that theory in a minute. Okay, so... Alright, where was I? Oh, okay, so one night in August, around 2 a.m. in the morning, this part is balls crazy. So,
it gets crazier?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, it does. So, I told you about this part, actually. Like a small little snippet. So, two scientists are sitting up on top of the bluff. They're sitting on top of the bluff, and they're kind of like looking down at the ranch, and, they see the house and all that.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden, they see a small white light appear about 150 feet below them. So one of the scientists decides to look at it with his binoculars. And it's kind of like, well, I don't know if it was a white light. I think it was kind of just a small light. But I think it was more like an orange, kind of like the orange orb that
they saw
Terry saw. Yeah. So... he's just like, okay, let me see the binoculars. So he starts looking at it through his binoculars, and he says that it's floating barely above the ground, but it suddenly starts looking like it's either getting larger or bigger. From his perception, he couldn't tell if it was if it was getting bigger or if it was getting closer, larger or bigger. That's the same thing.
I was like,
that's the same thing.
That's why I was like, the fuck are you talking about?
Closer or bigger. So, he can't tell.
Yeah.
Obviously, though, it was getting larger because it, at the time that he was looking at it, then all of a sudden he sees something crawl out of the portal. It's a creature with long arms and long legs. And it crawls out of the portal and, like, grabs the sides of the portal and starts coming out of it. It steps out of the portal, stands there, just... looks around for a minute and then goes out into the woods.
I would pee myself.
Yeah.
That's
and to
nasty.
this day, like, he swears on, like, a stack of Bibles that's what he saw. Like, to this day, he swears that that's what he saw.
No.
It's after this that the scientists kind of, like, they're completely baffled. Like, they don't understand. They don't really have an explanation for any of it. And they start running out of money. So they start running out of funding from the Pentagon and all that. Because I guess since they couldn't figure out a rational explanation, the government was like, yeah, we're done. Like,
yeah.
And so it kind of makes me mad, though, because it makes people think that they're not credible. But you got to look at all the stuff that's happened in this area with all these different people.
And also, they probably just think it's aliens, and they can't really do anything about it if it's aliens. So they're probably like, well, it's aliens. Get out of there, guys.
Yeah, because, I mean, they know that aliens exist. That's a whole nother podcast. So
I mean, they've admitted. They kind of admitted it.
So in 2012, unfortunately, that was when they decided that they were done and their funding ran out. So Bob Bigelow and his team left, And then the ranch was put up for sale in 2016. And it was put up for sale by a real estate tycoon named Brandon Frugal. And he was also somebody else that was like obsessed with the stories about the ranch and just the aliens and all that. Mm-hmm. So once again, they decided to make another investigation team. And this investigation team's still ongoing today, though. He's the one that actually gave the ranch the name the Skinwalker Ranch, because before that I think it was called the Myers Ranch, and then it was called something else. I can't remember, but everybody now today knows that it's, you know, they know it by Skinwalker. So now at this time in 2016, they have better equipment and they're able to capture things, you know, better. The first few months, they see bright, strange objects over the mountain ridges, blue and black streaks throughout the sky. They also see cattle running around in strange patterns, and they measure electromagnetic radiation surges around the whole entire ranch. So this time they do figure out where the magnetic waves are coming from. The waves are coming from the sky. So they've pinpointed where it's coming from. And because the higher you get when you're at the ranch, the higher you get up, like if you're up on the ridge of the mountain or something mm-hmm. like that, the more there's a magnetic wave of radiation, like they can measure it.
Yeah. So
that part is bananas crazy to me. It makes my head hurt thinking about it. And whenever they see a UFO, the measurements spike. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what the hell's that about? They are still investigating it today. You can actually watch live footage, which I watched it for a minute. I mean, it's live, so I could literally sit there, and I'd be that person. I'd be like, I'm just going to stay here. This is my life now, because I'm going to wait till I see an alien on that screen. But
is there videos of
you can watch live footage of the ranch. Like, they have cameras everywhere, and you can watch it. It's live 24/7 on YouTube.
So have they ever recorded something happening?
I think there's some things that they have seen, like objects in the sky and things like that. But I don't know if they've seen like any skinwalkers
yeah.
is what they like to call them.
I think there would have to be people there for the skinwalkers to walk up and everything.
I guess so. I don't know. They said that the entire Uinta Basin seems to be like a giant energy conductor, like a natural huge satellite dish that is receiving radio waves from some source in the sky, but no one knows what that source is, because there's no, like, we don't have any satellite dishes up there in that area. Yeah. So they don't understand where the radio waves are coming from. And this is like one of the biggest discoveries of this team. So one of the most plausible explanations, though, and this is what I believe, okay? So one of the most plausible explanations actually is one of the craziest, but it could be that this area is like a giant wormhole. Let me explain. The theory is that a powerful enough energy surge occurs and it can rip a hole in the space-time continuum, yeah. Correct? Which opens up portals to another universe. That would explain some of the orbs. That would explain the creature, because if it was a dire wolf, it could have came back from the past.
No, I was talking about the creature that was stuck his head out of that.
Oh yeah, thing. That would
explain a lot.
That would explain that.
And him seeing the blue sky and everything.
It would explain the objects moving, and it would even like moving around everywhere. Yeah. Just like one day he found his what's it called? Post hole digger up in a tree.
Yeah.
So, and it would even explain the cows moving wherever they wanted to, like how they got from in their corral to in the pen. Like, there isn't enough evidence though for this theory to like be like exact, but that's a theory, and I firmly believe in that theory. But it would explain just everything, and like how could all those people be like lying. Nobody,
Yeah.
none of the people got famous off of this. There's like a documentary, there's maybe a book or two, but nobody got like rich and famous off of it. Nobody made movies off of it. I think they did make a movie, but it wasn't like a big one. And I don't even think, I'm pretty sure none of the people in this actually were. I saw a preview. Yeah, I saw a preview of the movie, and I don't think it had, none of the stuff that I read or researched was in that movie, was in, wasn't connecting. That's the word I'm looking for.
But, and also, there's so many people that saw this. Like, not that particular, but, the 300 people that saw stuff, and then other people saying they've seen stuff, even to the point where the government's like, okay, we gotta step in. That is crazy.
Yeah, and even today, like, you can't visit the ranch today. We're pretty much done, but now we're just kind of talking. So, you can't visit the ranch today. You can't go there because there's, like, giant fence around the entire thing. So if you wanted to go, you couldn't. But people still to this day can sit outside of the ranch and look up at like the stars, or look up over the ridge or the mountains, and they can see UFOs. I mean, there's still UFO sightings all the time.
So did the government do that? Did they make a...
Yeah.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
Boom.
All over the area, not just in the ranch, people see, like, they even say that they see skinwalkers and orbs and things like that. So that's what makes me think, like, okay, these people weren't lying. Yeah. What if this specific spot, though, is just like an energy hotspot or a wormhole, like the theory is. There's other theories too, but that would also explain, like, what if that is how? Stick with me. What if that is how we see UFOs? Like, that's originally where they come from. Like the UFO that we saw here in Mississippi over our heads that night. What if that one came through from Utah and he was like, gonna go this way, guys?
Yeah. Or what if, like, so there's a vibration, so it must be, what if it's like some kind of signal and it's signaling, or like...
You're talking about the vibration when they would dig?
Yeah. Or like it's been planted before we were even here. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even think about the fact that there could be something. That was another thing. Like, they've never tested, like, under the earth that I know of. They've never, like...
Maybe they did, but they just didn't want to tell us.
I don't know. Weird, though. But, yeah. It's crazy. So, that is the story. Oh, there's one more thing. So, the Skinwalker Ranch... Every time I say that, I feel so country. Roswell, New Mexico, and then Area 51. If you map it out, and I'll put a picture up, if you map it out, it makes a triangle.
That's weird.
Like a perfect triangle. It's like a sideways triangle, but it's still a triangle. Yeah, it's really weird. I've just... fell down it, you guys. I have fell down a rabbit hole. Like, my mind was blown when I figured out the part about the wormhole and, like, that's a theory. I was like, what? That explains everything. I was like, oh my god.
Especially with the creatures.
And it doesn't just explain everything there. I mean, that could explain how, because a lot of people with the alien theory, they're like, we don't understand how they're so more advanced than us. They can travel light speed, thousands and thousands of light speed away.
Well, I mean, like...
But what if there's a portal, and that's the portal that they could just go through?
Also, our theory, like, what if God made them first, and they've been on this earth longer, and then God was like, yeah let's make us... Yeah. Like, he was like, all right, let me make another race. And they've just been here longer. They're more in the future, and they've...
What if they created the portal there?
Yeah.
And they were like, this is a shortcut, guys, so we don't have to go to sleep for, like, 100 years in a way. Or we don't have to go through, what's it called? Warp speed to get there. I don't know. Crazy. It blew my mind. Blew my socks off.
And that's the reason that we can't go there. Like, we can't travel.
Yeah, because we can't get there. Because they're way more advanced than we are.
Which I wish we could do that. Like, figure out some kind of wormhole But that's dangerous, but still, that would make it easier to get to a place like that.
But the Ute Indians in that area, they don't believe that, not necessarily the wormhole theory, they don't believe that the animals that they're seeing, that people are seeing, and the mutilations and stuff like that, they believe that it's still a skinwalker. Like, that's what they believe. Mm-hmm. And because, you know, they were cursed is what they think, and that's their heritage, and that's their, you know, Native American heritage. So, I mean, I fully believe it could still be that. It could be an array of things. People have also said, which I don't know how much I believe this, but people have also said that they've seen Bigfoot out there, and there's been Bigfoot sightings, and all this other crazy stuff. But, yeah, so that's Skinwalker Ranch, you guys. It's a doozy. You should definitely check it out. I've been watching, which I've watched it before, like the older seasons, but I started watching like the newer seasons of Ancient Aliens. Have you ever watched that? You should watch it. It'll make you question your everything.
Nothing is real.
Yeah. Some of it though, I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, that's not, no. But then there's some things I'm like, oh, so you say. Maybe so.
Indeed.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
But yeah, the one part that freaks me out the most, and it made me think about, I don't know if it made y'all think about this, but it made me think about the Upside Down.
Yeah.
In Stranger Things, whenever he was talking about the creature.
That's what I was thinking.
And this was like way before Stranger Things, so it's not like he copied that image from them. I mean, but I wonder if
that would scare, like, I would just pee myself and become crazy.
Pee myself and become crazy.
Yeah. They would have to put me in a sane asylum.
Sane asylum.
I'd be like, I don't want to walk anymore.
Anymore?
I won't. No, I'm not leaving.
I'm done. I'm done with this.
I'm done with life. I'm not living anymore. I'm just.
Could you imagine though, if I'll do it. No, I won't. But if I didn't have kids and a family, I would do it. I would go there and I would volunteer to jump through the portal and see what was on the other side.
No!
Yeah.
No,
they'd have to tie a tether to me, but I'd jump through there and see what was on. Maybe not the one that the creature came out of, but like the one with the blue sky, I'll jump through that one and see what's on the other side. What if like you jump through it and then it sends you like back in time to the dinosaurs?
Or it's just a bunch of aliens. They're having dinner and they're just like, what the fuck?
That's how the Simpsons
Jerry, did you leave?
That's how the Simpsons are doing it, man. That's how they know. Because the Simpsons are fucking time travelers. You can't tell me any... I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. But you cannot convince me that they're not time travelers. Sorry. Hate to say it. I'm convinced. I am convinced. Convinced. Because the latest one, did you see? I showed you, didn't I?
Mm-mm.
No, I showed Mom and Dad. Okay, the latest one, you gotta look it up. Type in... Simpsons, let me think. I guess it would be, I saw it on TikTok, so I don't know how you'd find
Simpsons new,
time travel theory? Yeah, something like that. So, you know the guy from the Capitol building that was wearing like the pelt thing and the weird horns or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that guy... The Simpsons had a episode where it's in January 20th, 2021, which is like Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
So one of their episodes, they had an episode where like there was like this civil war or whatever. So, but in that episode, there's also a guy that is, has horns. He has khakis on, and he has tattoos on both of his arms, just like that guy, and he has a tattoo on his chest, just like that guy. Just like that guy. And I'm like, what the fuck? It freaks me out. It freaks me out hard, because I'm like, there's no way. There's so many Simpson predictions, though. Like, it's ridiculous.
I just typed in the Simpsons 2021 theory thingy.
I don't know.
You'll have to show me the TikTok.
I'll have to show you it later. But you guys need to look it up, though, because it's crazy. I mean, they even predicted that Trump was going to be president, and nobody thought that was going to happen.
They
predicted that
predict-
a long time ago.
Didn't they predict the 9/11?
There's like
There was a
imagery.
newspaper.
Yeah, and
that
there's
was saying
imagery of
that.
it.
Yeah.
There's also I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
That's a whole
If they're not time travelers, then I need to know what they are. I need to know how they know. Here it is. So there's the guy, and there's the...
Wow, that's canny.
Yeah.
They've even got the painting on his face.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's not like everything is precisely
and they have the
exact.
brick tattoo.
Yeah. But then Dad was like, what if the guy copied that from the show? I was like, why on earth would he go get those tattoos?
And then his shirt's off, too. Like,
yeah.
That's weird.
I mean, he's got to be a dedicated Simpson fan if he was like, you know what,
Y'all
I'm going to go get those tattoos.
Y'all type in Simpsons Theory Capitol Building, and you'll look at it.
And it'll pop up. I might put I'll put the picture on there too, maybe. But, yeah. Anyways, we've rambled.
Yeah.
So, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And it's time for us to go because you got to go home.
Yeah.
And I got to go to bed.
I'm tired.
Yeah. So, we will see you guys hopefully Wednesday. Maybe I can scramble something together for a bonus episode. That'll be really fun. And, yeah, the whole getting on Spotify got pushed back because of me being sick. So, we're still working on that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Go ahead and hit subscribe and all that good junk. And go like our Instagram page and Facebook page. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.